Hey, it's Drybear. Over the last 3 or 4 days, Blizzard has been going crazy with hotfixes. Most of them are being unseen or unaware of most players. So we're going to go through all the hotfixes over the last couple days leading up to my last hotfix video, my M+ nerfs video, to cover everything that's been going on. There's some really cool stuff in here, some quality of life changes, and some trinket changes as well. As always, if you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. All right, let's just rapid fire through these. They made a hotfix for Algathar Academy on the Croft boss. Savage Peck, which is a damage to just main target, was a huge physical damage instant and a dot over time as well. And they made it so it always hits the target. It cannot be dodged or parried. So if you're playing like a Brewmaster or a Vengeance DH, you will basically be able to avoid this and limit the damage that you take, which means the healer can do more damage and all that sort of things. So as on Tyrannical Week, some tanks were significantly outperforming others on this boss, and they decided they're going to shut that down. So now this is unavoidable. Savage Peck will always hit the target. You can't dodge or parry it. You just have to damage reduce it or absorb it. For Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, they updated it so that during Sadhana, the Defiled Spirit now provides 0 enemy force count. So what you could do is you could extend the fight on this and build up extra count on this boss. They made that 0, so that cannot be what happens anymore. Then they also did a hotfix, 2 hotfixes, one that's not listed here, but they did one where they fixed the bug, I guess, clever use of game mechanics that was on Ner'zhul. It used to be where when the Ritual of Bones starts, which creates the wall that moves forward, you have to kill one of the mobs and then create a hole. And if you touch the Ritual of Bones line, you take a whole bunch of damage. The way it used to work is that when the skeletons all despawned, the instances of that dot despawned as well. So you could just wait until the last second, jump over the wall, and then as the skeletons despawn, you take 2 or 3 ticks of the dot, and then it all fades away. So now it will stay. If you jump in the last second, you will still have the full duration of the dot. And they also made the Ritual of Bones scale more aggressively with key level, which means that on tyrannical keys, high keys, this is a very serious mechanic. You absolutely have to kill the mob now. You can't cheese it, run around it, or try to tank it. It hits pretty dang hard. This one was pretty subtle as well. We didn't really see this one go out, but in Temple of the Jade Serpent, on the second boss, third boss, they made it so like the third boss has this AoE that she'll spawn it and then she'll randomly create these waves of green or orange fire that shoot out and deal damage. You could cheese it before by standing at the stairs that lead to the final boss, because the fire obeyed elevation, which means if everyone's standing on top of the stairs, even if the fire goes under the stairs, it won't hit them. That is not true anymore. They fixed it so that if you were standing at the top of the stairs, it doesn't matter. The fire's still going to hit you, which is kind of weird to hotfix this in the middle of week 4, considering there are people that probably got a much higher key level because of this on Temple. But I guess there's enough weeks left in the season. They felt like they were going to fix that up. So that cheese strategy is no longer viable. There's some general bug fixes that I won't cover here, but in Court of Stars, on the last boss, Malandrus, they already did a nerf to the overall output of the damage. They made it so most of the Slicing Maelstrom damage comes from the boss and less from the ad spawns. Then they did another change, which increased the unavoidable damage effect of Slicing Maelstrom by 20% after the fact. And they reduced the additional damage of Slicing Maelstrom to players within 7 yards by 30%. So overall, it did get easier, and there's another change they made that made this even better than what we're seeing here. They nerfed the Primal Council conductive mark, and it does scale with difficulty differently as well. This one, if you ever did LFR or you did a pug raid in normal or heroic, you know exactly how bad the conductive mark can be on Primal Council. So they made it so that it happens less often and that it scales differently on difficulties as well. It is a little bit better in LFR and normal, so that if you're paying attention, it shouldn't be so bad, but it still is kind of rough. They made some adjustments to raid trinkets. On the Desperate Invoker's Codex, they lowered the amount of self-damage the player takes by 20%, and they fixed an issue where you could abuse it out of combat. Ice Blood Death Snare, on-use damage increased by 30%, damage increased for the on-hit effect by 50%. This is a trinket that wasn't really getting used all that much. They fixed an issue with Rumbling Ruby, and then on Spiteful Storm, damage increased by 15%, and they fixed some issues with it as well. Also on the topic of trinkets, some trinket values were changed, but they weren't listed in the patch notes. So, I mean, these went live. They've been tested and verified to be doing more than they were before. I don't know if this was an accident or they just left it off the patch notes, but Bone Maw's Big Toe got damage increased, Fell Meteor got damage increased, and Idol of Trampling Hooves got damage increased. So all three of those trinkets have been buffed in damage by 10%. Back to dungeons, Court of Stars, they improved the visual clarity for Piercing Gale on the final boss. This is huge. It used to be so hard to see, and especially when you're getting people, running pug groups with people that, hadn't really pushed high-level Court of Stars where you get one shot by Piercing Gale. It's very hard to train people how to see the little wisps there. So it used to be very like gray and see-through. Now it's very sharp and purple and very easy to see. So this is a massive change for the last boss in Court of Stars. All the Incarnates, Dathia, reduced the Thunderbolt damage by 33% on heroic difficulty. Thunder Caller's health on lower group sizes on heroic difficulty has been reduced as well, which kind of encouraged people to have bigger groups just because it was hard to get the adds down. Reduced Cyclone's damage on lower group sizes on heroic and below difficulties. Volatile Infusers no longer cast Unstable Gusts at low health on heroic and below difficulties. And then Zephyr Slam's initial knockback distance reduced by 40% on heroic and below difficulties. So at heroic and below, Mythic remains unchanged, but Dathia got some pretty big nerfs there that make it a little bit easier. You could easily wipe your whole group if you didn't manage the adds properly, and with these changes, hopefully it's a little bit better. Kurog, the damage from the elemental enemy's presence abilities during his intermission, now respect avoidance. I didn't even realize they weren't respecting avoidance, but they are now. Mythic Plus, the Stone Drake boss, Granith in Not Good Offensive, the area of effect on the stomp now matches the visual. So this one, I've lost people to this before, but hopefully it seems to be fixed now, where it just wouldn't, like the visual effect area wasn't where the damage actually happened. So that has been fixed. Raging Tempest, easily the hardest boss in the entire dungeon. They fixed an issue that caused Surge of Power to go through all damage immunities. They reduced the damage of Surge of Power by 80%, and they fixed an issue causing Surge of Power to not scale with Keystone level. So somehow Surge of Power wasn't scaling with Keystone level. So they fixed that. So it does scale with Keystone level now, but then they reduced the damage of it by 80%. So we'll see how I don't know what Keystone level you'll need to be at to see that, but that is going to be there. Ruby Life Pools, the big boy drakes, scary mobs, and Urquhart Stormbane's Cloudburst no longer damage player pets or guardians. So if you're like a warlock or a hunter, it should be a little bit easier to keep your pet alive. And that covers all the hot fixes that we've had over the last couple days. It's been very rapid fire. They've been kind of going at raid and PvP, but mostly raid and Mythic Plus with some trinket changes in there as well. So some cool stuff. Hopefully this covers all of it for you. We might be seeing more hotfixes soon, and we know there's class tuning coming on Tuesday as well. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.